This debate had a couple of things in it that were important. One is hashtags, obviously. Hashtag 40 billionaires. Those are the folks supporting Pete Buttigieg. Hashtag I'm that guy. Or no, I'm the guy. That's Joe Biden in half his answers. I'm the guy who did that. You understand me, brother? Okay, I'm the guy. He looked like a pro wrestler. Okay, woo!
What you gonna do
when the Biden mania comes down on you? And then, of course, our new favorite show, starring Amy Klobuchar, soon on the Young Turks network. Who does that? Okay, so those are all in this debate. But overall, getting serious, Bernie Sanders was fire today. I thought this was his best debate. Clear answers, sharp answers, on the attack. Not only great devastating points against people like Buttigieg saying, hey, you're getting money from 40 billionaires. Who does that? Anyway, but some of his best answers on healthcare, more clearly explaining it. At the end of the debate, the pundits on television come on and pick a random moderate, like, oh, today we're going with Klobuchar, today Buttigieg, etc. And after every debate, they do a poll, and the people almost always say Bernie won. I think that they will say that even more overwhelmingly in this debate, because he seemed to be the one guy above everyone else who was fighting for the average American, while everyone else was jockeying for position on their political careers. Oh yeah, I'd like to honor the senators from New Hampshire, right? No, it's a time for this moment to meet that other moment and shake its hand. I'm the guy, right? So I thought it came across more stark in this debate than any other, that there's one guy who's for the people. That's Bernie Sanders. And I know the moderators spent the first 60% of the debate framing every single question against Bernie Sanders.
Oh my God.
I mean, they asked like 7 questions in a row about how could anyone named a Democratic Socialist ever win, right? How come they never asked this very simple question? How could you guys be moderate Democrats and expect to beat Donald Trump, who last time beat a moderate Democrat? Aren't you by definition unelectable? They never, ever asked that question. Instead, is it true that Bernie Sanders is unlikable? Is it true that he's a Democratic Socialist? And all of us millionaires agree that that person shouldn't win. Later, the moderators had a couple of interesting and tough questions, including for Buttigieg. So there's a little bit of redemption at the end, but the first half of the debate was atrocious. Every question framed from a conservative perspective.
Yeah. The fact that they went on for what felt like, and I think might have actually been 20 minutes of literally one formulation of another of, oh yeah, also you say something about Bernie. Go. You hate Bernie, right? Bernie's the worst. Then move on to him. The idea that like the continual just not only attack Bernie, but I want you to attack democratic socialism and democratic socialists. We acknowledge, we keep saying we want young people to be involved in the Democratic Party. DSA's numbers are exploding. Tell them all why they suck and why they're gonna ruin this entire thing for us. How stupid and self-defeating, except for the short-term political interests of the people who are trying to get Biden or Buttigieg to win. I mean, and the thing is, I understand that Bernie's the front runner, obviously, by every metric, and especially by Iowa as well. But Buttigieg, he did very well in Iowa as well, and they got around a little bit to him. He had possibly the single toughest question, but it was like an hour and 20 minutes in. If you only stuck around for the beginning, and a lot of viewers will, you thought the purpose of this was to destroy Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Well, obviously the right-wing framing of the questions is something I take as a given in any of these debates. But what I'm almost disappointed at ABC News, because it's not just the right-wing framings, it's just that we've heard these exact same questions at every single other debate. Like, let's come up with some new ones, guys. Like, let's come up with some new right-wing framings for some new questions. But like Medicare for all, how are you gonna pay for it? Like, we've heard that 5,000 times already. Like, we've had maybe 12 collective hours of debate on the question of how you're gonna pay for Medicare for all. And what I love about Bernie and what makes him such a formidable candidate for me is that he never concedes the premise of these dishonest questions. When politicians do that, they always get in trouble. And that's something that he never does. Like when they're like, socialism, that sounds an awful lot like Stalin's gulags. Your response. And then he just talks about whatever he wants to talk about. He doesn't take the bait.
Yeah, I actually thought David Muir's questions was a new Republican talking point. General Soleimani is irradiant and dangerous. Are you saying you wouldn't have killed him? Would you have kept him alive? Which he asked about 7 times in a row to every candidate. We're like, okay, Dave, I got it. What you want to do is a commercial for the Republicans so they could say, aha, Tom Steyer would have kept Soleimani alive. Okay, and it's just, are we ever going to get a debate where a question is framed from a progressive perspective? In a Democratic debate? The answer is obviously no.
But there's a huge upside to it that I didn't even see coming until this particular debate. I think that it's prepared Bernie Sanders in a way that any other type of debate preparation couldn't get him ready for, right? So he is so used to this type of framing and how he needs to like reframe the question before he could even answer the question that was posed to him. And so look at him in this debate. I mean, look, he's done okay in the previous debates. This was definitely his strongest performance, and I think it's because he came in swinging, he fought, he didn't wait to go after Pete Buttigieg. He went after Pete Buttigieg and the fact that he has 40 billionaires funding his campaign without having to the thing about Bernie that's been frustrating up until this moment is that he doesn't ever attack first. He waits until he's attacked and then he goes after the person attacking him, which makes him look defensive. But no, go on the offense, go after them. You're the best candidate up there. You have the cleanest campaign. You're not funded by the billionaires. All these people up here, have their giant Achilles heels. So like slash it further, go for it.
I only disagree. Yes.
Can I just
His car.
Yeah.
So Anna's show is going to be called Slash It Further.
Yeah.
The only thing I disagree is about makes him look defensive, maybe. But I think even people who don't like Bernie, I think some would admit that he's a nice guy. He doesn't try to make it dirty. I think, and I think he has earned that reputation. I think Donald Trump always calls himself a counterpuncher. It's not. He throws the first punch. He punches to the crotch first. But Bernie really does wait. But in the past couple of weeks, it's like initially it was like Warren's like, okay, I'm gonna knives out for Bernie. And now all of them are. Buttigieg is attacking him. Tom Steyer was talking about socialists in his ad. And I just wanna say to them, you morons, he's going to shred you on the debate stage because he's gonna call out all your donors. He doesn't do it, he wasn't doing it to individuals before, he was doing it in general, but he will do it to your face. He'll talk about your billionaires and you are gonna look so bad right before New Hampshire. What a stupid move for them to make at this time.
Well, it's a stupid move, but I think that they were taking advantage of the fact that he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And they were
Not
gonna,
anymore.
they were gonna, exactly
He's
though,
free.
they were gonna continue doing that. And I think that tonight, he taught him a lesson. He taught him a lesson. Look, when you have the dirt on your political opponents, why not use it, especially when they've been like jabbing you left and right? And the Elizabeth Warren thing that happened, that was an incredibly frustrating situation because I like her as a candidate. Obviously, I didn't endorse her because I like Bernie more. I like his theory of change way more than Elizabeth Warren's. And what she did was like such a ridiculous low blow when they should be collaborating eventually. And I think that makes it difficult to collaborate when you go for the Achilles heel when Bernie doesn't even really have one. You just make one up, you know? Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say about all the other folks that were in the debate. So we all apparently think that Bernie won, and yes, we support Bernie. But yes, I've also said that Kamala Harris and others have won previous debates. It depends on how they do. I actually think that Tom Steyer had a really solid performance today.
Number 2, I think.
Yeah, clear number 2 in my opinion as well. I'll obviously see what everybody else thinks. Although I was amused by his constant references to South Carolina, because he's doing well, if you don't know this, in the polling in South Carolina. So he would not only make reference to South Carolina specifically, but he talked a lot about African Americans because you need African American voters in South Carolina. He's passed New Hampshire because he's not going to win there. That's just the reality of politics. But I thought he did a very good job. He was very strong, good progressive points. I thought Klobuchar did a solid job. I think Klobuchar is like, she's really hanging in there. I got to give her a lot of credit. She's very strong in these debates. And what I like about Klobuchar versus Buttigieg is, and we were saying this throughout watching the debate together, is that she's at least more honest about her moderate stance. Buttigieg dresses it up. Well, we have to meet this moment on a cloud, and then make sure that we shake his hand with a rainbow. Like what, right? And he's just so fake. Whereas Klobuchar is like, no, you got to be realistic, okay? I'm not going to give you much, but I'll give you something. Yeah. I'll give you something, okay? And it's like this a little refreshing. And I like the way she hates Buttigieg.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. She wants to grab him by the throat and rip his larynx out. And you know what? I don't discount it at one of these next debates.
Yeah, now I'm beginning to finally see how she won all those elections in Minnesota.
Yeah,
she might
throw her
She's got like a Midwestern. She's got that Midwestern rage seething right under the polite veneer.
Oh, totally.
That is just like such a classic suburban Midwestern thing. I love it.
Can I just say, like, I'm so tired of hearing about people's Midwestern identities. Like,
oh, I know, right?
I don't care, and I guarantee you that even Midwesterners don't care. Like, we're Americans, okay? We're Americans, and we're impacted by the very issues that some of those candidates are only pretending to care about. What I like about Klobuchar is that she is a little bit of what resonates with me, which I can't say the word.
Salty. Let's say salty.
Salty is I know. Salty is like the appropriate way to say it. But I like when she gets up there and she gets sassy, right? And I say that in the most positive way. I like that she's authentic. Look, I think authentic, answers resonate with people. And even though I don't agree with her and I don't see her as a candidate that's really gonna serve this country's best interests, I do appreciate that she knows who she is and she's unapologetic about it. There's something great about that. Pete Buttigieg doesn't even know who he is. He's like a zygote who like has no experience in politics other than being a failed mayor of a small town. And he goes up there with his cute little face and his like rehearsed
face.
Yeah,
disgusting
I say cute in like a sarcastic way with his ridiculous facial expressions. You can tell he's been practicing in front of a mirror. He hasn't said anything of substance, literally. He just regurgitates the question in an answer form and doesn't give any solutions or policy proposals. He's nothing. There's nothing there other than the 40 billionaires that are funding his ridiculous campaign.
So I just thought for all those reasons that Buttigieg came out as the biggest loser tonight. I know right now if you're watching any other channel, they're declaring him the winner. He's also declaring himself the winner.
No, ABC was declaring, I was getting texts from my friends, ABC News was declaring him the winner.
Of course!
No, but it's not of course. Just say Klobuchar won. She did well for herself, I think. It's way more accurate.
They love Buttigieg. They love the empty talking points. It's their favorite thing in the world for establishment
mom
media.
jokes.
No.
Who does that? Come on.
So anyway, but to real Americans, they see Buttigieg. I don't know that they see through his empty talking points. Probably not. Look, I'm keeping it real, right? But do they see the fact that he's with the 40 billionaires? Yes. And when he says, well, I don't want to shut out anybody in this country. Oh, come on. Oh, that's why you, well, there's 40 extra people, right? And when he does that unctuous, I'm not from Washington, I'm from the Midwest. Yeah, but your mindset is Washington 101.
Yeah.
So that's why the establishment loves you, because you would maintain the status quo and keep everybody in power, currently in power, in their current positions. So don't tell me you're outside of Washington geographically. It doesn't matter at all. And I agree with all of you guys. Why is the Midwest better than everyone else? Why does no one be like, you know what? I have Rhode Island values. Rhode Island's a state like any other. It doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah.
But Biden also, unfortunately, was not great today. I say unfortunate for him. I mean, sometimes you cringe looking at Biden and giving those answers. When he does that uncomfortable pause and you're not sure what he's gonna say next, you're like, ah. And then Warren, I love when she talks against corruption. Love it, love it, love it. But she kind of disappeared tonight.
She did, she didn't talk much.
She barely talked. And talking about disappearing, Yang back on the debate stage to just immediately walk back off. He barely talked. And every time he did, he's too much. He has so many policies on his website. He should talk about the other policies. Whenever he gets on the debate stage, he's always like cold hard cash. I'm giving it $1,000 to everybody. We got it, Andrew, we got it. Go to your other policies, have an interesting conversation. So I thought he did very poorly tonight, if I'm being honest.
I have to jump in because people are agreeing with me on Twitter and I have to share it. Yes. No, but mostly about the comment I made about Midwestern roots, right? Because we have a number of people that are tweeting in right now saying, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're 100% correct. I'm a Midwesterner and don't give an F about my Midwestern identity. Politics candidates like Klobuchar try to use Aaron Duffy. You're correct. As a Midwesterner, I'm tired about talking about Midwesterners because we're Americans, people. Like this effort to like pander to the Midwest is ridiculous when we're all dealing with the same economic issues, the same rigged economic system.
Well, if Obi-Wan Kenobi says it, you know it's true.
Exactly.
And I think the lesson, the easiest lesson we can take from this primary is that identity in terms of candidate support from actual voters matters very, very little. Look at Bernard Sanders. He is like 250 years old from Brooklyn, and he is dominating with young people and college voters. Whereas Pete Buttigieg, who is one of the youngest presidential candidates we've had in a long time, is got no support amongst young people and has only support from old people. So like
old wealthy white people.
Yeah, it doesn't matter like what you are necessarily. Like it might help on the margins, but it's not gonna be like people aren't like just looking at someone and be like, oh, he looks like me, I'm gonna vote for that person.
Right.
But that's how mainstream media views it. So they assume that, for example, LGBTQ community will be supporting Pete Buttigieg because he's part of that community. Not remotely. You look at the polling, Bernie Sanders is crushing in that community, crushing. Has something like a 20-point lead over the closest rival. So, and Buttigieg is nowhere near the top of the list because people don't care that you're in their identity. They care if you fight for their identity community group, right? And so that's what Bernie Sanders does. I mean, here's a guy that was favoring gay rights back in the 1980s and stuck his neck out when he was a mayor to fight for gay rights. And that was at least 20 years before Buttigieg was born.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.